So we are doing Rambam Bekius during Mishlei because we were doing Sadaka. Oh, there's Rambams there, by the way. I don't have source sheets. I don't, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So we were doing stuff about Sadaka. And just a methodology point here that I think like a person might object to this saying like, oh, like, why are you doing Rambam? I'm doing Mishlei. But we have to remember that Shlomo HaMelech wrote Mishlei in order to help people to access Torah in a way that is actually, accomplishes Torah's goals. And at the time of Shlomo HaMelech, then whatever the reason was, people were not able to fully access Torah. So that's why he wrote Mishlei. So I feel like whenever you see a pasuk in Mishlei that connects to Torah in any way, then going out of your way to build that bridge is part of the design of Mishlei. And especially for mitzvos, if it directly pertains to mitzvos, then I'd say that Torah has to come first, before you go into Mishlei, which obviously we didn't do because we didn't really know that the pasuk was going to be about that. But like, I think the most recent example we've had of this was in the summer. We did the pasuk about, or no, maybe this. Do we do one this year about unjust weights and measures? Yeah, right. So there, like, if you didn't learn the halachos, you just wouldn't know what he was talking about, And so, so it's important for that reason. Yeah. Okay. So we are in Sefer Zra'im, Hilchos, Matnos, Aniyim, which I believe is the second section in Zra'im, if I'm not mistaken, after Kilayim. So we're going to see several. Oh, you mean in Mishlei of the pasuk? Yeah. So yeah, that's a good idea. Let's review that. Hold on just 1 second here. Stop sharing this and share the whole thing. And Mishlei 21:14, I think. Yeah, 21:14. So the pasuk we were doing was Matan Baseser Yichpe'af V'Shochad B'Chik Chema Aza, a gift in secret or an anonymous gift. There were some who translated it that way. Will suppress wrath or overturn wrath, and a bribe in the lap will suppress strong anger. And so the thing that led us to Sadaka was the Meiri and the Rabbeinu Yonah saying that it's about giving to the poor. That if you do it in a way which is like in public and you're not sensitive to their psychological needs and the fact that there's like shame involved in taking tzedakah, so then it's going to exacerbate the wrath that they have, that the poor have, in terms of like, they don't want to be in this position and you're kind of like, you're doing a good for them, but you're also like making them feel bad about it. So if you do it in secret, or even better yet, anonymously, where they don't have to have any of that shame, so then that's going to actually like be the best way to do it. So that was that, and then this is also connected to the previous pasuk. This is what we do today is going to be connected to the previous pasuk, 21:13. Otem ozno mizakas dal gam hu yikrav lo ye'ane. One who shuts his ears to the outcry of the poor, he too will call out and not be answered. So that was about a person who hears the poor and then, asking for help or for tzedakah, and then turns his eye, kind of the opposite of Moshe Rabbeinu last night. Yeah. Okay. So let's do. Yeah.
What do you mean when you say this connects to Torah? Doesn't all Mishlei connect to Torah?
Right. So yeah. So that this all Mishlei connects to Torah, but certain pesukim in Mishlei connect to specific mitzvos in a more explicit way than others. So for example, like if you have a pasuk in Mishlei that deals with a tzaddik or a chacham, obviously that connects to Torah, but there's no like mitzvah of thou shalt be a chacham, So, but this is like an actual like 12:13 or 21:13. There's an actual los aseh to ignore, to turn a blind eye to someone who's looking for tzedakah, and that one has to do with halachos about how you give tzedakah. That's what we're going to do today.
Can we read the previous pasuk too? The one that also has to do with tzedakah.
Didn't we just do that?
We did our pasuk and we did the previous one.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but thanks for reminding me. Okay, so let's just see where this takes us here. Okay, and again, we're gonna not necessarily go straight through. We can stop and like focus on stuff that's interesting. So just in the structure here, this is in Sefer Zra'im, which is about agriculture stuff, and this is in Hilchos Matnos Aniyim, which has to do with all of the agricultural laws about providing for the poor, like peah and leket and shechacha and that stuff. So then in chapter 8 is where he goes through the main mitzvah of tzedakah, okay, which ideally we would have done, but we don't have the time to do that today. The mitzvah d'oraisa, maybe we should actually read just the d'oraisa here. He says, hold on, where does he say the d'oraisa? Where does he say the d'oraisa of tzedakah?
In the formulation.
Yeah, the formulation of the mitzvah. I thought it was in the beginning of the parak. Well, maybe sorry, maybe it starts in 7. Does it start in 7? Maybe I didn't copy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts in chapter 7. Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I just didn't make my source sheet enough. Okay, fine. So it's a mitzvah to say litain tzedakah la'aniyim kafi ma sheroy la'ani, right? So this is a common misconception. You ask the average Jew, how much do you have to give to tzedakah? They'll say a tenth, right? That's not deraisa, right? That's derabanan. Deraisa, you have to give however much the ani is proper to the ani. Im haisa yad hanosim maseges, if you have enough money. Shneimar pasoch tiftach es yadcha lo, you shall surely open your hand to him. V'nemar, and it says v'hachazakta bo, you shall strengthen him. Ger v'soshav, a sojourner or a native, a citizen, v'cha imach, and he will live with you. V'nemar v'chei achicha imach, your brother will live with you. We really needed to do this. I don't know why I didn't. For some reason, I thought it started in chapter 8. Yeah.
So does this one say Le'ani Yisrael and that one doesn't?
Oh, sorry. You know what? I forgot that the Torah past Zmanim does not use the correct Rambam. Chatasi. All right. Let's go to the real Rambam. It said, oh yeah, this is a good limud. All right, watch this.
Is this the correct one?
Good call. Yeah, the one that you guys are using is the correct one, right? So let's just do a little. What was that? Oh no, Rambam. Not that it's bad to have it Tanakh, but hold on just a second here.
Five. That's the page.
Yeah, right. So the Dufus Rambam says mitzvahs aseh litain tzedakah la'aniyim, and the actual Rambam say mitzvahs aseh litain tzedakah la'aniyah Yisrael. Now, why would the Dufus Rambams say censors, right? So this is an example of explicit censorship, right? Now this one does not. I don't know if this is the Christian censoring it or if the Jewish printers were censoring it in order to because they were afraid of what the Christians would say. But this is like a clear example of that, right? Where if it makes it sound like we're only giving tzedakah to the Jews, then that's bad. Now there are halachos about giving tzedakah to the Christians, or not the Christians, to the non-Jews, but that's not the mitzvah say doraisa. Okay. Yeah. What was it?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So kvi mashroi la'ani, according to what is proper to the ani. Okay, and we read these pesukim here, but okay, then we have here. Then rant here, right? So in the bad Rambams, they divide a halacha here. They make a new paragraph. The Rambam did not have a new paragraph here. He put this all in one paragraph, which means it's part of the same thing. V'chol haroe ani mevakesh, anyone who sees a poor person begging or asking, v'hetlim einav mimeno, and hides his eyes from him, v'lo nasan lo tzedakah, and doesn't give him tzedakah, over below saseh, he transgresses a lo saseh. Shneimar, it says lo sa'amitz es levavcha, you shall not strengthen your heart, or make stubborn your heart is probably a better translation here. Lo sikpot es yadcha me'achicha ha'evyon, and you shall not clench your fist from your brother, the poor person. And I'm just mentioning, just to connect it to last night, because I was the parsha, that a lot of the Mufarnas said that Moshe Rabbeinu obviously went out to see the suffering of his brethren, but they also said, I think the Malbim was the one who said he Davka did not hide his eyes from them, and we noted that there's a parallel there that Moshe hid his face. What was that?
So that he stared them down?
No, that's not what it means.
What does it mean?
What do you think it means?
You just looked at them?
No. What do you think it means? He didn't hide his eyes from them.
And ignore it?
He didn't ignore them, right? Yeah, I don't know if you've ever done this, but sometimes you walking by, you see a poor person begging on the street, and the inclination is to just turn your eyes so you don't have to see it, and that's really connected to 2113, which is covering your ears. Just avoid seeing them, and then you don't have to worry about the fact that there are people who have needs that you are able to fulfill. You're avoiding the conflict. Yeah, so that this is an example, right? Is the pasuk 21:13 directly correlates to this los ase. You know, the los ase is commanding us, and then the Mishlei is explaining why we should do this for all the reasons we said last week.
So not ignoring them means giving them Sadaka.
Yeah. So it's structured as a positive and a negative. You have to give them Sadaka, and if you don't, if you ignore them, then you're over a los ase.
Is this specifically with Jews?
Knowing them without giving them Sadaka.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Meaning, meaning what happens if you see them and you don't hide your eyes?
Sounds like a literal thing.
Right. It's a good question, right? Yeah. I mean, the way that the Rambam does make it sound like that's part of the mitzvah. This is one of the questions we have to look into, right? Is what is it like? When are you obligated to? What exactly is the scope of your obligation upon seeing an ani? Yeah, it does make it sound like though he's saying you hide your eyes, but I kind of can't believe that that's what the actual halacha is. Yeah, Isaac.
Is this specifically with Jewish aniyim?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, because that was what we just said. The Christians censored and said the Christians made it all aniyim, or whoever censored it made it all aniyim. But the Orisa is for Aniyei Israel.
Just briefly, do we need to give tzedakah to non-Jewish?
Yes, but for different reasons. We'll see if we get to that today. Okay. Now, how much do you have to give? All right, we really should do the basics here. Oh, yeah, this is going to be relevant to the Mishlei also. Okay, so whatever the ani is lacking, you are commanded to give to him. Okay, and this is on a derisa level, right? He's going to go to Durban later. Im ein lo ksus, if he has no garment, so you cover him. Ein lo klei bias, if he has no furniture, konin lo klei bias, you buy him furniture. Ein lo isha, if he doesn't have a wife, masin lo isha, you marry a wife to him. Doesn't mean against his will. It doesn't mean just like grab some woman and then like make him say Harayam Kedishly. But it means you help him to get married. V'im haisa isha, and if it's a woman, masino sala ish, then you get her married to a guy. Afilu haya, yeah.
Is there a certain standard of like niceness going for you in terms of the killing?
That's another good question, and I think it's answered by this next clause here. Afilu haya darcho shel zeh ha'ani lirkov al sus. This is a very controversial halacha for I would say Westerners, but maybe just for everyone. This famous halacha, even if this ani's normal derech lirkov al sus ve'eved ratz lefanav. Let's say this guy used to be a rich guy, and he would ride on a horse with a servant running in front of him, like for honor. The ani yard min chasav, and then he became poor. Konin lo sus lirkov alav, the eved laretz lefanav. You buy for him a horse to ride on and an eved to run in front of him. Shneimar, as it says, de machsoro asher yachsar. It says whatever he is lacking, you have to fill his lack. So the modern example is, let's say this guy was used to riding around in a luxury car, right? And then he became poor. Sadaka d'oraisa would say you have to buy him a luxury car, right? You are commanded to fill his lack, but you are not obligated to make him rich, right? So this is an interesting clash between this and like in America, at least, that in America there's this idea of equity, right? Of which is trending towards like everyone should be made like, the poorest people should be made to be like the richest people, So it's funny, like halacha doesn't go that far, but halacha does say if you had a person who had a certain standard of living, you're obligated to provide for the person to bring them back to their standard of living if they lost it. But if the guy didn't have that standard of living, you'd be obligated to just give him whatever his standard of living actually is or is expected.
Weird.
It's weird, yeah. So what's the basis of this? What is the difference in this tzedakah philosophy as opposed to get the person their basic needs?
It's the same. It's no objective standard, at least in terms of happiness.
Right. That's interesting, right? Yeah, samech b'chalko, but not in the way that people usually say it, right? In other words, people usually say samech b'chalko, be happy with whatever you have. Here, it's like whatever the guy is, what his portion was. Yeah, whatever his like is. Yeah. So I'm connecting this to Mishlei because it's saying that really his psychological needs are just as real as his physical needs, So if he was used to having like nice clothing, and you give him rags, then you're not really taking care of his needs, So it just shows how far the Torah goes in terms of recognizing psychological needs here.
And is there a minimum standard? Like a person's born into poverty, right? They've
Right.
never, all they've known is rags.
Right.
Are you
So
okay just giving them rags?
it's a good question, right? Sounds like it, right?
Yeah,
Sounds like
Yeah.
the minimal. I guess the minimal standard would be if they don't have their basic needs, then you have to give them their basic needs. Meaning, let's say they don't
Like
have.
house, wife, seemingly, right? Just
Right. So that's a good question, whether these categories that the Rambam's saying are examples or whether they're fundamental categories. You know, like you could look at Yaakov, who said, for Hashem, v'nasan li lechem lecho beged lilbosh. You gave me bread to eat and a house and a garment to wear. He doesn't even mention house, which is interesting. So and the Mufarnas that we did on that Wednesday talked about how like those are the Yaakov was actually just asking for whatever the basic needs are, and house is not a basic need. Now, I guess it depends on what your climate is. Like in what I'm familiar with, this is good advice if you ever become really, really poor. Best place to live, Honolulu. Okay, in Honolulu, was it? If you're poor, yeah. In my opinion, in terms of the places I've seen, maybe Jewish community is also where you can get your needs taken care of. But like if you're not Jewish, Honolulu, because the weather is always nice. And Honolulu is a very touristy town. So there's tons of tourists to give money, but then also tons of like restaurants and like high quality food and stuff that like is just thrown away that you can eat. And I go to Honolulu enough to visit my family that like I see like there are individual poor people who I know, who I see every year, and like it's, like you don't need a shelter. Like you can just like sleep on the beach. Or like make and it's like comfortable, not comfortable, but like, compared to like if you're in New York, you're going to die in the winter, So the reason I'm bringing this in is like it seems like clothing and food, according to that standard set by Yaakov, are the basic needs. And then I guess circumstantially, there might be other basic needs like shelter, I guess in certain areas, a certain like hygienic things like conditions are filthy. Let's say like in India, like you need certain hygienic conditions, otherwise you're just going to die of disease. Yeah. Okay. I forgot to say this, by the way. This is not a halacha l'maisa shiur, right? For halacha, this is an overview. I said this in the description. This is an overview of the mitzvah in its surah, but like I'm not equipped to go into all the details of halacha l'maisa. Yeah.
What sets your standard exactly? Let's say you fluctuate between richest and
Yeah, at what point do we say that this is de machzor or yachzor? Yeah, it's another good question. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure. Yeah. Okay. So then, Okay. So let's go on a few other basic halachos in chapter 7 because I think this also relates to our mitzvahs here. We'll read this in a small one because it's short. Yasum shabal hasio isha. We read this yesterday. Right, an orphan who comes to get married, sochrin lo bias, we rent a house for him, umatzin lo mita, and I think we provide for him like linens for his bed, v'chol klei tashmisho, and all of his furniture, v'achkach masin lo isha, and then we get him married, right? Because you got to have a house before you get married. Ba ani v'shal de machzor. Okay, so now we get to one closer level of practicality. An ani came and asked for his needs. Okay, the ein yad hanose masagas, and you don't have the ability to provide. Nosen lo kafi hasagas yada. You give him whatever you can provide. V'kama, how much? Ad chamish nechasav, up to a fifth of your own possessions. Mitzvah min muvchar. That's the best mitzvah. The echad me'asara min nechasav beinoni. 1/10 of your possessions is your net wealth. I guess this is a more modern term. That's a middle amount. Pachos mikan, less than this. Ayin Ra'ah is considered stingy. Olam al yimna adam atma mishlish shis hashekel b'shana. A person should never refrain from giving less than a third of a shekel per year. Okay, now that sounds, I don't know how much a shekel was worth back then. This sounds like a very small amount, right? Per year, third of a shekel, Anyone who gives less than this, lo kiyam mitzvah, has not fulfilled the mitzvah. Even an ani who is supported by tzedakah is obligated to give tzedakah for another. Okay, so it is interesting just the way the doraisa is structured, right? You have to provide him with whatever he needs. So the shiur is really established based on the needs of the ani, but then how much you are obligated to give, there's like this spectrum here. It doesn't say, at least the way the Rambam presents it. So like, no, you give him whatever he needs. Okay. And if you can do that, great. Okay. But if you can't do that, then you fall into this spectrum where it does not seem like it is legislated, right? You can give up to a fifth of your net worth, no more. Okay. It sounds like that's an upper limit. Benoni is a tenth. Less than that is stingy. And then the minimum, there's a bare minimum, which is like a pittance, per year. Yeah.
Oh, I think a third of a shekel is actually a
Just
little more.
1 second. Yeah. What was that? Yaakov?
Not per year.
So it's funny because the last one he says per year, but it sounds like the way the halacha is structured is interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the halacha is structured each and every time he
But then
asks,
you keep giving a 10.
right? Then then it kind of like negates the measure of tenth, right? Yeah. So you would think it would be by a yearly thing, yeah. Isaac, what were you saying?
So actually, I think a third of a shekel is like not an insignificant amount. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be like several $100s or something like that. Like,
Really interesting. I guess
in terms of, like, purchasing cars.
the reason why I'm assuming it's like this is because I know why. I'm just as an Ivy assumption. I was assuming because the minhag of machas is a shekel, is not that much, but I think that's just because we use the unit of. I'm going to mute you, Isaac. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
also
yeah.
There's also like there's like several like smaller units of currency than a shekel. Like there's like a pundion, which is like I think it's a 48th of a shekel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not like a small amount.
So this is really where we need the actually, can you hand me Rambam? I think they might have units in the back. I don't know if this is going to help us, but maybe. You can check the Frank. Yeah. Why don't you do that while I do this? Okay, so we have at the back midos shkalim uksafim shekel. Shekel shel Torah is 20 maos. Asui kesef tahor, and maos is sheshes rate. This is always the problem, right? You got to convert all the measurements. Yeah, if you can find it in silver.
It'll be about a quarter of an ounce of pure silver.
Okay, so 0.25 ounces pure silver is a shekel.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want ads.
It's not the
Wait.
Put it in price.
Point. Yeah. Let's pure silver price. Or let's just say ounce, right?
Yeah.
Ounce pure silver price. Okay, so silver per ounce today is $22.93, right? So $22.93. So that is sorry, hold on a second. This was for what? I just lost my.
That'd be 4 shekels. So you need a quarter of that for 1 shekel.
Okay, and then a third of that.
And then so that's 1 shekel now.
Yeah, and then a third of that. So
Why a third?
oh, because that's how much.
One shekel is a quarter. So
Yeah.
Right. So, but we wanted a third of a shekel, right?
Aye.
Right. So, because third of a shekel is the minimum you have to give per year. Right. Yeah. So that's really not that much. I mean, if this is
$2?
correct, right?
Is that $2?
That's $2. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So, so unless like Isaac, unless we're missing something here, then it is not that much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a bunch of other things. Maybe shekel in the Rambam's thing is different than shekel in Talmud. I don't know.
Price of silver also fluctuates.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was
That's also
probably
true.
A lot more valuable.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. There was a lot less silver in the world back then. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay. Where were we? We were in Mishnah Torah on Mechon Mamre. Okay, fine. So then so and if you give beneath that, then you didn't fulfill the mitzvah. Yeah. So again, I just to reiterate here the strangeness of this. Strange thing is there is a somewhat open-endedness of your Maaseh HaMitzvah, of how much you do, even though there is an objective shiur from the Torah of de machzoro asher yachzor lo, however much he needs, And what's interesting about it is like how is this mitzvah going to look like on a year-to-year basis, right? Like is it the guy who lines up, at your door the day after Rosh Hashanah and says, "Hey man, I need something," and you could just give him all his needs, and then you're yotze, if you've given it sounds like it, right? Like you give up to, let's say, you fill that guy's needs, And then if you have more, you'll fulfill the next guy's needs. But if you don't have more, you give a fifth of your net worth, and then that's it for the year. Right? Sounds like it, right? Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yes.
So are you not allowed to prioritize one ani over another?
So there's going to be halachos about how to prioritize.
I see.
Yeah. So and that's kind of what I want to get to also. Okay, let's next halacha, and then we're gonna get to the non-Jews. Ani she'ein, so this is halacha vav. Ani she'ein makirin also. If there's a poor person who you don't recognize, Amar ra'evani, and he says, "I'm hungry. Hechiluni, feed me." Ein bodkin achrav shema ramayhu. You don't check after him to see whether he's a swindler. Ela Mufarnas miyad. You give him immediately. Haya aram, if he's naked, Amar kasuni, and he says, "Clothe me." Bodkin achrav shema ramayhu. You check after him. Maybe he's a liar. And if you recognize him, you cover him, you clothe him according to his dignity immediately. We don't check after him. Actually, I remember this from the very first time I was like one of the first Shabbos I was in Far Rockaway, and for those who are out of town, you never see Aniyim just walking around. Not never, but like depends on where you are. Like in Seattle, we don't have Aniyim just walking around, Jewish Aniyim walking around like asking for money. So I was on Central Avenue and on Erev Shabbos, and I think like going grocery shopping or something like that. And this woman like was begging for money, and I had never really encountered this before. And she said, please, I need money to for food for Shabbos, right? So I gave her some money. And then she said, please, I need more for diapers for my baby, right? So I was like, okay. So I gave her a little bit more. And then she said, please, I need a new dress for Shabbos. I was like, okay, this person is not either like she has some sort of mental illness or she's just a swindler, like I understand food. Diaper needs is one thing. I need a new dress for Shabbos. Like how many like women who have actual like income, like just get a new dress every Shabbos, So it's just interesting the where halacha draws the line between a ramai and the very fact that halacha recognizes. I mean, it makes sense. There are these people who are just like deceitful, who pretend to be aniyim, and I think there are halachas about that, about how like they are, a unique kind of evil because they're taking money from people who are actually aniyim, and that's why like in the big cities like here we have certification. You need to be a certified ani to actually like get real tzedakah, real amounts, and we check their certificate. Yeah.
So specifically that you're not supposed to check.
So he says if they say I'm hungry, right? So if they say I'm hungry, then we don't check. But for providing for other needs, then we do check.
Well, for hungry and for clothing also.
No, clothing we do check.
What?
Bodkin acharav shema ramayhu. For food, it's ein bodkin acharav. For clothing, we do check.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
What's the last name?
The last one is if we. Sorry. The last one is if we do recognize him. I mean, if we know who he is already,
Then we don't check.
then we don't check. Yeah, correct.
That's
Yeah.
also interesting because you think like if I recognize this guy, then I would probably notice my mental situation more and I'd be more skeptical to do unless I know, of course, that he isn't.
Yeah,
It's just somebody
I'm
that-
assuming. Yeah, I'm assuming Makirna. So meaning we recognize him that he actually is poor.
Right.
Yeah, not just like like he's your friend who you went to high school with or something. Yeah. Okay. Now we get to non-Jews. Mufarnasin umachasin aniye goyim im aniye Yisrael. We provide for and we clothe the poor non-Jews along with the poor Jews, mipnei darchei shalom, because of ways of peace. Now, we did a shiur on this last year in Rambam Bekius, where I think there's a common thought, there's a common like notion that people have that darchei shalom means like for political reasons, like we don't want it to look bad, So there is something like that. That's mipnei eva. That's because of like enmity, and that's not even political. It's like for, if the Jews are going to somehow be targeted or like in danger, that's mipnei eva. But the Rambam learns mipnei darchei shalom. Let me just see if I can find the halacha where it was. There's an explicit thing that shows that the Rambam has a different philosophy of darchei shalom.
By Leos or
Was it by what?
Leos?
Like to the Torah?
Yeah,
And that's not what I'm thinking of.
I think so. I think
Uh,
Mufarnas.
Darchei shalom. I think it is Gazela and Aveda. Yeah, Yud Zayin Yud Aleph. Let me just look at that here. Yud Zayin Yud Aleph. Gazela and Aveda. What did I just say? Yud Zayin Yud Aleph. Oops. Yud Zayin Yud Aleph. No. Wait, hold on a second. No, because he quotes a pasuk in the one that I'm looking for. Let me see. Yud Hey in Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah. Yud Hey. Oh, this is all about Shalom. Nope. And then let's look at one more. Mlachim Mulchamas Yud. Oh yeah, this is the one. It's the last one. This is about in Sefer Malachim Umilchamos Yud. This is about for I think Bnei Noach Yud Tes Zayin. Yud Tes Zayin. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So this is talking about Ger Toshav, which is a non-Jew who converts to the Shevet Mitzvot Bnei Noach at a time when that is an option, which we don't have right now. V'chein yearly shanogim. So he says like this. Hold on a second. Yeah. Yearly shanogim im Ger Toshav derech eretz ugmilos chasadim Yisrael. So we have all the same standards of derech eretz and kindness with a Ger Toshav as we do with a Israelite, with a Jew. Shari anu mitzuvim l'hachos. We are commanded to provide him a livelihood, or to sustain him. Shnemar says, "Lager asher b'sharecha titnenu v'achala." To the ger who is in your gates, you shall give, and he shall eat. V'zeh she'amru chachamim ein koflin lahen shalom. When the chachamim say we shouldn't literally double shalom for them, that means I think it means greet them in an extra exuberant way. Begoyim, that's talking about regular non-Jews, lo b'ger toshav, but not with a ger toshav. Okay, but now afilu hagoyim, but even goyim who are not living as Bnei Noach, Tzivu Chachamim Levaker Chaleim, the Chachamim commanded we should visit their sick, V'likpor Mesehem, and to bury their dead, Im Mesei Yisrael, along with Jewish dead. I don't know if that means in a Jewish cemetery or if it means that we should take responsibility for seeing to their burial, just like people who are Jewish. Ulefarnes Aniyehem Bichlal Aniyei Yisrael, and to provide for their poor along with the poor of Israel, mipnei darchei shalom, because of darchei shalom. So that's so far what he said in Hilchos Matnos name. But then we see this. Hari Nemar, as it says, Tov Hashem lakol v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. God is good to everyone, and his mercies are upon all of his creations. V'nemar derachaha darchei noam v'chol nesifoseh hashalom. That this is talking about Torah. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. So you see from here, it's not just playing politics, it's actually Darchei Hashem to care for all people. So and the Rambam is explicitly saying that is Darchei Shalom and explicitly for Tzedakah. So when we see in our halacha here that it's that we take care of the non-Jews, it means because we're emulating God and having mercy on all and goodness to all creatures, not just because of politics. Yeah, Aaron?
Why is he getting halacha from Ketuvim?
That's a good question in general about what we make of halacha sources for that come from Nach. Here though he's not deriving it from Ketuvim. He says this is midirabanan, and he's supporting it in terms of the idea or maybe the source. I don't know if this is actually the source where they make the halacha, but but it's a good question in general, like for a doraisa, if you quote a nach, yeah.
It says goyim, does that include Adam also?
It's a good question, right? I think when he says goyim, then that means an Oved Avodah Zarah. Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, even Oved Avodah Zarah. Yeah, even for Oved Avodah Zarah, we do this.
What about for monotheistic non-Jews?
Even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he says that explicitly, but I'm not 100% sure. So don't quote me on that. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to our halachos here in Matnos 7:7. V'ani hamachazer al hapsachim, a poor person who is. Oh, and by the way, just to be clear here. So it's interesting here. He doesn't specify that this is midirabanan. But in Malachim Mulchamas, he did say Tzivu Chachamim. And even Tzivu Chachamim, didn't we learn earlier? No, I don't know if you were here. Earlier, we read the Lashon Tzivu Chachamim. Yeah, Tzivu Chachamim. Okay, yeah, in teaching your daughter Torah, right?
It's also in Deus.
In Deus also, right? Yeah. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm using the right phrase here. In Hilchos Torah, yeah. Right. Were you here when we did that? Yes, that was earlier in the year. That was in the first parak.
I'm saying there's another one.
Yeah. Amru Chachamim. Oh, Tzivu Chachamim. Here we go. Yeah. Tzivu Chachamim. Yeah. So we read. Actually, I just want to make absolutely sure of this. Hilchos, Talmud Torah 1:13, because this is an important thing in Rambam, and since this is a Rambam Bekius here, we always have to highlight things like this. Tzivu Chachamim. Was it here or was it in Kafach? That he says that when the Rambam uses Tzivu Chachamim, no, I think it was in Kafach, so which I yeah, that Tzivu Chachamim never means it's Asur or Mechuyav. It's always just like sage advice. You know, so that is interesting then. So then really our halacha here, so see, I don't know what to make of this. In our halacha here, Mufarnasin u'machasin ani goyim im ani Yisrael mipnei darchei shalom. So is that derabanan? Is that not even halacha? Is it just like a general directive? It's hard to tell. Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know what the status of darchei shalom stuff is. Either way, you should do it, right? Okay. Va'ani hamachazer al psachim, a poor person who is begging at the doors, ein niskakin lo lamatana meruba. We don't. That's interesting. We don't attend to him with a large gift. I don't know exactly how to translate ein niskakin lo, right? Like we don't attend to him. I think is the best translation. Aval nosin lo matana mu'etas, but we give him a small gift. So what does that mean? That up until now we were talking about, about just an ani who you approach, like who you know he has needs and like you approach him, or he comes to you but not begging around at all the doors. Sounds like that, right? Like meaning this is an ani who's like going from door to door, right? So then we don't give him a large gift. It's interesting that we differentiate between that guy and the guy who comes to you specifically with needs. V'asr lahachzir es ha'ani shishal reikam. Okay, this someone Ari was asking about this. It's usher to turn away a poor person who asks empty-handed. Vafilu atanosin lo grogeres agas. Even if you give him one fig. Isn't there a British thing? I wouldn't give a fig. I don't give a fig about you. Comes from this. They got it from the Jews. Now, yeah, but no, you have to even give him one fig. Shneimar al yashuv dach nichlam. Don't return a crushed person ashamed. Yeah.
That's referring to the non-Jew stuff.
It's interesting, right? Because he started off by saying the non-Jews thing, and then he branches off. So it sounds like everything that he says in this halacha would apply even to non-Jews, right? Sounds like it. Otherwise, you would think that he would make the non-Jews a separate halacha and then put this in the halachos about how we treat Jewish aniyim. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is this situation limited to when they come to your house? Is this anytime an ani?
This sounds like anytime.
So if you're in a subway and an ani Jewish and I ask you for money.
Right.
That would play also?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Well, it sounds like even anyone, right? Even a non-Jew. Yeah. So hold on just 1 second here. I think I want to skip and then come back. In chapter 10, I think he says what you should do if you don't have money. Because that's also a common case here. Let's just check chapter 10. Yeah, I think. Yeah, look at 10:4. Okay. Kol hanosin tzedakah ani b'sefer panim ra'os upanav kavushas bakarka. This is what I read when we did the pasuk originally. Anyone who gives tzedakah to a poor person with like a bad face, right? Rav Makbili says bekas, angry face, v'lo b'panim ni'imos, not with a pleasant face, and his face is like looking down to the ground. Afilu nasno elef zubim. Even if you give him 1,000 gold coins, ibid zechuso hifsida, then you've lost your merit or squandered it or thrown it away. Yeah. So again, psychology is a big thing. Like for the poor person to be treated as a human is more important than for him to just like have the money. Ella nosin labusever panim yafos pesimcha. You should give him with a pleasant face and with joy. Umis onin imo al tzarasa, and you should empathize with him, mourn with him, literally over his plight. Shnemar, it says, imlo vachisi likshe yom agma nafshi la evyon. If I have not cried for someone who's having a harsh day, my soul is in anguish because for the poor. Umedaberlo divrei tachanunim v'nechamos, and you should speak with him words of supplication, or I don't think it means like supplicate to him or supplicate on his behalf, but nechamos, meaning like, sympathy. It says v'leiv almana arnin. Okay, then this is the next halacha. Shal ha'aniyim mimcha ve'ein biyadcha klum leitino. If he asks for something from you and you don't have anything to give him, paisehu b'dvarim, you should appease him or placate him with words. Right, so that's like a common case. Like I don't always have cash on me, but you can still say something nice to him, or like sympathize, or like at least refuse it in a nice way. V'asur ligor ba'ani olahagbia hakol ala bizaka. It's usur to shout at a poor person or to raise your voice against him in shouting. Ligor can mean to rebuke. He says linzof, to reject. I don't know exactly what this means. But why? Because his heart is broken and crushed. And it says, a broken and crushed heart, God does not despise. Yeah.
Does that mean like when they're in like beggar mode? Like let's say I know somebody who's a poor person, I can never be mad at them.
I think he's saying in general, right? Not just when they're begging. Yeah. And it doesn't mean you can't be mad. It means you can't demonstrate. You're talk to him harshly.
He does also run with the sales, or else they're never supposed to be mad. So
that's also true, right? But that's what I'm saying. I think this is not being mad. This is yeah. But Omer lahachios ruach shvalim lahachios lev nitkaim, as it says, to give life to the spirit of the lowly and to give life to the hearts that are crushed. V'oile mi shehichle mesani. Oilo, woe unto the one who shames a poor person. Woe unto him. Ela yihi lo ke'ev. Rather, he should have pain.
Yeah.
Oh, Ka'av, sorry. Ka'av. He should be for him like a father. Bein barachamim, bein bidvarim, whether in mercy, meaning like a father has mercy, or in words. Shneimar says, Av anochi la'evyonim. God says, or no, I don't know if this is God. This is Eov. I am like a father to the poor. Yeah. So again, the main thing we're trying to get out of this is like the attitude with which you should have to the ani. And even when you can't give him stuff, you should still do everything in your power to empathize and be sensitive to him. And you can see how, like, just going back to like the thing we were saying in Mishlei, how if you do this, you are perfecting yourself, and you're going to be deserving of more mercy from God. And you're recognizing like this person could be me. Mishleically, you're going to get good consequences as well. In fact, I saw, let's just end it off with one thing I saw in Avram ben Rambam when I was looking at this morning. So those pesukim and shemos about a poor person, 22-26. So it says when a poor person calls out to God, God says, I will hear him because I am gracious. So Avram ben Rambam, quoting Sadigon, says, Lord Sadigon zal tam hamikra v'sodo, the meaning of the pasuk and its secret, lomar, is to say, shehu yisale hamashir v'hamorish. God is the one who makes wealthy and who makes poor. Klomar, meaning to say, hine anihu shehesharticha ashitlave v'tikach mashkon v'asisi oso ani achilave v'itin mashkon. So the case here in the pesukim is where you're lending to a poor person, and he's giving you like collateral, and saying you shouldn't hold on to his collateral overnight because he needs it. So God is saying to you, I'm the one who made you rich to the point where you can lend money and take this collateral, and I'm the one who made him poor to the point where he needs to borrow from you and giving you the collateral. Vim tamre sp, and if you rebel against me by not giving tzedakah or by like holding the God's collateral, v'tis achzar negdo, and you are cruel against him, ani epoch es amatzav, I will reverse the situations. V'a'ashir oso b'ese oscha ani, I'll make him rich and I'll make you poor. Right. So that's again a recognition that the wealth all comes from God. It's not because of some intrinsic property that you have, and the situations could easily be reversed. And so the more you follow these halachos of tzedakah, the more you're like reinforcing that notion that this could be you. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Again, not a full overview of tzedakah, but I think building the bridges between Mishlei and halacha is good. Okay. Have a good day. Yeah. Now I got to remember all the sources because Yosef wasn't here to write.